It was August 21st, 2017, when I found myself hiking up to a small meadow that was in the middle of the woods. Which it actually wasn't that abnormal of a thing for me to do, but the thing was, I was hiking up this mountain on the specific day to experience something completely abnormal in the world of comparatively normal that I live in. I was hiking in expectation of being covered in complete darkness.
Daisy, I'm gonna walk. Yeah.
I first got the idea of going on a backpacking trip when I finally had my hands on my new Sony FDR-AX5 III camera. And then the idea was only further pushed after the first time I flew my new 3DR solo drone. So going hiking to stay in the woods for a couple days was pretty much already planned. But then I heard about the upcoming eclipse. Although it would only be 95% where I wanted to see it, I knew I wanted to be somewhere both more special and more beautiful to watch the moon shadow the sun. The woods, and the specific spot in the woods, was a perfect place for that. So my date was set. I decided on this area after my family and I had hiked up the full length of the trail that I was going to hike up to this beautiful lake that sits at the top of the mountain. And to get to it, you have to drive through this land with farm buffalo on it, so I knew that I would get some good shots in that area to test out the new Sony camera that I was bringing with me. The camera, although with the ability to shoot a smooth 4K with 30 frames a second, I chose to shoot with only full 1080 HD to save space, with the relatively long video that I was planning on creating. Plus, the 3DR drone that accompanied me only used a GoPro 4 as its camera, which didn't actually shoot 4K, so that would have bugged me slightly to actually have those different qualities in that specific video. The only other thing that I can actually even say about the drone doesn't even have to do with the drone itself, just in that since it uses the GoPro, which is mainly an action camera, it tends to overexpose some of the landscape shots that it takes, resulting in just some more work in post-process. But that's enough with me rambling about cameras for now. The hike up to the area that I was planning on camping in was boiling hot, especially with all the camera and camping equipment that I had strapped to me. But fortunately, it was only about a 2 or 3 mile hike up to the location anyways, with all these great views despite that haze that covered the horizon because of the smoke blowing in from the faraway forest fires. Once I reached the spot, I had to find an actual area to be able to set up camp, which that had a few requirements, such as being by a stream, yet also having a flat enough space with no overhead cover so that I could build a fire, but also be able to set up my new SkySurf tent. I had tested this tent before, and it was actually pretty much the most comfortable thing that I ever been honored to lay inside of, so it was pretty safe to say that I was excited for sleep that night, especially after the heated hike that I had just been on. The great thing about this tent too is that once you figure out how to properly set it up the first time, you pretty much got it down. Granted, you have flat enough ground or supportive enough trees to support a person, which I didn't really have. Hey, but it worked. So I'm pretty much all set up. I got my tent set up, I got the fire started. Now all I have to do is eat dinner. Freeze-dried spaghetti. It's actually pretty good, but I have to cook it out of this. So I ended up getting pretty much everything sorted out. I had to make my camp way down here because it's by the stream. But the problem is the sun rises up there, which means I have to hike all the way back there to watch the eclipse tomorrow. But the real problem is that I'm getting way too excited for these New York style cheesecake bites. This is important. After everything was settled and I had eaten dinner and the surprisingly delicious cheesecake bites, I found it was slightly boring being by myself with nothing to do but upkeep a dying fire every so often. Surprising, huh? So at about 8:30 p.m., I went to bed, ready for the eclipse to come the next day.